Welcome down the rabbit hole, friends. A source just reached out to me on Facebook. She is a friend of David Preston Jessup's family in Montana, and she confirmed that sadly, Preston has been diagnosed with a form of cancer. The source sent me a link to a GoFundMe page for Preston and his family to help raise money to be able to afford all the treatments that Preston is going to need long term. Most of us are aware that David Preston Jessup is Robin Brown's ex-husband, who she shares Aurora, Brianna, and Dayton with. There's been a lot of controversy about the fact that on the show, Robin portrayed it like she was coming from an abusive and unsafe relationship with her ex-husband. Whenever Robin has spoken out about Preston on the show, she's essentially insinuated he doesn't spend a lot of time with his kids. There were safety issues in their marriage, and she needed to get away from him with her kids to protect her children. This was the line all of us as fans were always fed from the show. But as time has gone on, especially in the last couple of years, relatives of Preston have come forward and they are speaking out against that narrative. At least one outspoken family member has related her own feelings about the breakup between Preston and Robin. The family member has insinuated that Robin had a major shopping addiction when she was married to Preston. Likely she still has it now, right guys? But according to this family member, Robin racked up massive debt within their family, even though Preston was the only one working and allegedly didn't spend much money on himself or the family in general. He was coming home to the house and finding bags of random useless products shoved in closets and hidden throughout the home. The family member even alleged that bags were hidden in the garage and shed in the backyard. Allegedly, Preston wasn't even fully aware of how much debt they were really in because Robin took out credit cards and maxed them to the extreme. The family member also felt that Robin was always in it to win it when it came to getting a man who could take care of her financially. Preston was at his wit's end, and the marriage ended because he couldn't afford to keep Robin in the kind of financial security she was seeking. They were losing everything, and Robin wanted out because she wasn't happy living this way. It's impossible to know exactly what happened, right? There's a little bit of he said, she said, and I sincerely doubt that Robin would just leave her husband with no concrete issue and reason why she had to get out of there, because she does seem pretty faithful to the doctrine. I'm sure she felt like it wasn't a good place for her in one way or another, but whether or not she was actually like abused by Preston, there's really no concrete evidence that this happened. But as I've pointed out in prior videos, I remember this one episode of the Sister Wives show in which Robin's children were finally going to travel back to visit their dad, Preston, and the cameras caught the kids like being really, truly excited and like ecstatic to go visit their dad. And especially Dayton was like, I just can't wait to see him. It's been a long time. People have suggested that Robin made some kind of deal with Preston, essentially being like, look, I know you can't afford to financially support me and the kids as well as move on with your own life. So as long as you let the children be on the show, we won't require further financial support from you. And this was how Robin was able to gain full control of putting her kids on the TLC show and being able to make whatever choices she wanted when it comes to how they moved around the country following the Brown family. Some people have said this is so unfair to Preston. What was he supposed to do? He was left in a significant amount of debt. Robin did allegedly take some of the debt with her, but at least an equal share, if not more, was left with Preston. He probably felt stuck between a rock and a hard place, of course. The family source has indicated that Preston really loved his children and wanted to see them more, but he didn't have enough money to just go traipsing around, traveling throughout the United States, trying to visit his kids on a regular basis when he needed to go back to work and rebuild his financials. Okay, so the source that messaged me on Facebook, her name is Christina, and I was able to confirm that she's linked to the family. She sent me a link to this GoFundMe, which I will include linked below. I am going to go ahead and donate to it. I know everybody has different feelings about what happened with Preston. I don't necessarily believe that like it's Robin's place, like, oh no, she needs to donate all of her money and try to save her ex-husband. I know that there's a lot of he said, she said going on. I'm not putting it on Robin to try to step in and help Preston at this, but I just wanted to make you aware of what's going on. So first off, I'm really happy to report that Preston is remarried and he has children with his second wife. According to the source, everyone is, happy and healthy. They did not want to have to come out and ask for any help, but a sister-in-law went ahead and set up this GoFundMe for them because it's going to be a long road ahead. The GoFundMe is set up by Stacy Jessup, and she writes, "My brother-in-law Preston went in for a routine eye exam. His amazing doctor, Dr. Wilkins, saw something that concerned him and sent Preston in for testing, and it turns out that Preston has chronic myeloid leukemia." Okay, so for those of you who aren't familiar, chronic myeloid leukemia, I've definitely encountered it in my nursing career. It's a pretty uncommon type of cancer that lives in the bone marrow, and you'll realize that a patient has it, one of the first clues will be that they'll have elevated white blood cell counts. It's interesting because the term chronic basically indicates that this is a very slow moving form of leukemia. It usually occurs in older adults. It's more common in men, and there can be kind of like a genetic component to it. Oftentimes people may start to have pain, especially like pain in the bones. They'll feel like, oh, I'm just having all this pain. They'll go into the doctor and have the elevated white blood cell count. Chronic myeloid leukemia is fought long term. It's the type of disease that someone will need treatment for over a long period of time, with ongoing medication and checkups to be able to try to stay in remission for as long as possible. The prognosis is really improved for people with this type of leukemia. From what I've read about it, they can achieve remission and they live for many years, sometimes decades after the diagnosis. So Stacy goes on to write, the doctor's course of action is to have him take some pills that would keep it under control and eventually put it into remission. The expectation is that he's going to need these pills for the next 10 to 15 years. After taking the first round of his chemo pills, Preston started to have serious internal problems, and his numbers are not coming down like they would like him to. He was scheduled to start another round of chemo pills, but has been told the second round may destroy his heart and arteries. Because of this, he is opting to take a more natural approach. This is looking extremely promising, but also extremely expensive. Of course, insurance will not pay anything on natural remedies or treatments. He has been working with wonderful, knowledgeable, and caring teams of doctors, and then she lists a bunch of the doctors that he has been working with. This team is committed to save his life, and he is beyond grateful to have them in his corner fighting so hard. Preston has an amazing wife and 4 beautiful, sweet children that make him more determined than ever to beat this. His health is not great, but he continues to work daily. He is doing everything he can to provide for his family. Jen is a stay-at-home mom who homeschools. Their finances have taken a hit, and they are hardworking and determined. Everything earned here will go directly to helping Preston fight his leukemia, making sure he has the proper diet and supplements to help him gain strength so that he continue to provide for his family. We, Preston's family, are joining with Preston and his little family to ask for your support as he takes on this fight. We appreciate any amount you can donate. And so the goal is $50,000. I guess that's to give him these more natural treatments over the next 10 to 15 years. They've raised almost $3,000 so far. I think he has a long fight ahead. I can't say, like, I'm not looking at his medical records, so I can't say, you know, specifically what's going on. I think it's interesting, and I'm a little worried that they're going ahead to try to take the more quote unquote natural approach. I love natural remedies, but when it comes to cancer, I have hesitations. Like, I would really need to see what's going on with him, and everybody has to make their own personal decisions. It sounds like he might feel that his only chance is to do this type of natural intervention, because he was having other medical problems when taking the chemo cocktail. That is common. There's definitely, people have said that when the cancer doesn't kill you, the side effects from the chemo treatment might. That's very hard to hear, but it's true. And I've been there with a lot of patients and families who are very concerned about the long-term ramifications. So this is difficult to hear, and I do think I'll have to take some time to think about how I feel, about Robin's place in all of this, right? I sincerely hope that if nothing else, she is going to be able to try to support her kids in having a relationship, as much of a relationship with their dad as they possibly want, especially if they're looking at only having a certain number of years left. Maybe also really creating a relationship with these half brothers and sisters. I don't know if the relationship is there already, but I mean, of course, if Preston only has a certain amount of time, now is the time for the family to come back together as much as they can and be able to spend some time with one another. Okay, I am really interested in hearing what you have to say about all this. I feel sad. I'm sure it won't even be brought up on the next season. It would be interesting if it was. I mean, these are the real issues. Like, I'd like to hear what Aurora, Brianna, and Dayton have to say about this. Like, are they like, oh my gosh, hearing all of this, like, I really want to spend more time with my dad. I wish we would have spent more time with him when we were younger. Or are they like, look, we've really moved on in our lives in many ways. He hasn't been a part of our life for a long time. These are like real issues that people deal with in divorce, and when families like come apart and then rejoin together with other families. These are the real issues that the Sister Wives show could be addressing, and it often doesn't. So please check out the link below, drop some comments, and let me know how you feel. I'll be continuing to follow up with this story, and I hope to see you again soon when I head down another rabbit hole.